Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of the Urban Sentinel Live Show. And I'm your host, Reginald Kearney. And I'm by myself tonight. I thought I'd come in and spend a little while with you tonight, see how everyone is doing. I've been under the weather a little bit, but I thought I'd give it a try tonight, give it a shot, see how things were going, and talk about some of today's issues and everything. I tell you, for all you sports enthusiasts, good football game last night with Kansas City and Philadelphia. That was a good game. We still can't say who's the best of the best, but both teams played well last night. So could that be the Super Bowl? Could that be another opportunity coming up in the wings that these two teams will face each other again? And what about our old man in the NBA, LeBron James? I tell you, it doesn't really make any sense for a guy like LeBron James have to play his heart out every game, in order for the team to win. With those young guys making millions of dollars also, they need to step up to the plate. But you're going to let a soon-to-be 39-year-old man just run circles around you, okay, and carry the team. They were trying to do limit his minutes. They wanted to limit him to 28 minutes per game. They've only done that one time in the last 14 games. And I believe that was the first game that they played this year. They were able to limit his minutes. So, hats off to LeBron. He's still carrying the torch, and he's doing very well. So, those are the two biggest things, but if then you follow the New York Jets, they're talking about Aaron Rodgers is jogging and he's thinking about coming back, hopefully to come back to practice in 2 weeks, who knows? They better check him for drugs when he comes back. He's healing too fast. And then we don't know the extent of his injuries anyway, because they never told us, so we just don't know. We just don't know. For you all that are into college football, the college football playoff rankings are out now. We're coming up on the last weekend of football for college. Gosh, can you believe that? And I think high school probably ended a couple of weeks ago. Football is one of those short seasons. If you don't indulge and enjoy it, will run by you. And you won't even know it's ran by you. But, we're looking at Georgia on top as number 1, Ohio State number 2, Michigan. With everything that's going on in Michigan, they're number 3. And Washington is number 4, Florida State 5, and Oregon 6. Those are 6 teams. Now, I believe next year they're going to round it out at 12 games next year. In the top 12 will be able to play for the championship. So can't wait to see how that's going to turn out, because if you had the top 12, you'll have Texas, Alabama, Missouri, Louisville, Penn State, and Ole Miss. And I think that's a fair assessment of how to choose the national champion, because what happens when they go to the top 4 teams now, everybody else, gets cut out, because if you go with the top 4, Florida State's going to get cut out at 11-0, right underneath Washington, So, there's advantage to having a wider field and bring some excitement to college football. Then we haven't heard a whole lot about Ukraine lately, because of the simple fact that the focus has been on Israel. It seems like when another major event takes place, a major event that we were watching kind of dies, But I know the Secretary of Defense was in Ukraine yesterday, I believe it was, and reiterating that the United States was still in there corner, and I think it's going to do $100 million aid package if Congress approves it. But that's a whole nother story. The House approves it, So, we got a lot going on in the world and everything. It's been a while since I've been with you guys because since the last time I've been with you, we had a situation in the Middle East and Israel where Hamas literally went into Israel and brought death and destruction to many. And now Israel and Hamas are in a bitter battle, and hopefully tonight or tomorrow there will be a release of hostages, only 50. I just don't understand, only 50, but they get 150 Palestine women and children, or mixture of people that have been held that Israel's holding in prison and stuff, So kind of hard to figure out what's going on over there, but we pretty much know. We need to send up prayers for this conflict, Hamas is evil group of people, and it's hard to believe that people can be so evil in this world, that evil can, be seen in the eyes and in the actions of Hamas, But we need to pray for the people of the Gaza Strip in Israel, that hopefully this conflict will soon end and Israel be able to do what they have set out to do, is to destroy that evilness that Hamas perpetrates over the Gaza Strip, So hopefully there'll be a quick resolution to what's going on over there, and they can get things straight and move on, But we're in some volatile times in the Middle East at this time. Hearing on the news today that Iran is thinking about sending ballistic weapons to Russia to use in Ukraine, And we got some stuff going on in this world. So, but let's come back to the United States and look at what's going on domestically here in the United States. We still see that guy who used to call himself president. He's running around just really unhinged right now. And if there's anyone out there tonight that believes that he's not unhinged, you need to look at some of his past actions, and you'll see that this guy is really unhinged. You can listen to his conversations and things like that, and see that he's losing a step or two, but those people in the Republican Party still believe in him. Now, comments that he makes are unhinged, calling people his enemies vermin. That's, I don't know, but he has a group of people that buy into that mess, where he's calling people names and talking about people. And, he made some disparaging remarks when from a former First Lady, Rosalynn Carter, passed away, or when she went into hospice. It's a shame that he only does stuff to please his base. That I look at his base as a group of losers that really don't understand politics, but support this man because he is unhinged. Okay. So basically what happened was Trump, mocked Jimmy Carter a couple of days ago. Okay. And it's sad because this is the only way, I guess this guy, who used to be president, does this stuff to gain points, okay? But it's sad that he does stuff like this to gain points. Attacking the president who May had some issues when he was president. I think he went into rescue some people that had been kidnapped, and the helicopters had issues during his tenure and everything. But you got somebody like Trump, throws a jab at Jimmy Carter while criticizing Biden. And that's sad. Here's a man who's in hospice, who's lost his wife, and you take the opportunity to take a jab at him, and that's how this guy acts. Okay, and so you must believe and know that he does have problems. Okay, and you really need to assess whether or not he's fit to run for president again. But Republicans think so. I mean, gosh. Guy has 40% approval rating, in the Republican Party right now, and everybody else is fighting to come in and be runner up to him, But hopefully, through all his legal woes, that this will slow him down, and maybe a couple of the cases might end up getting him put in jail, and we won't have to be worried about him no more. Because we really have to be concerned about his actions and his thoughts and the things he talks about as he prepares to, prepares to run, is running as he runs for president of the United States. And he's going to have an authoritative type of government where basically whoever gets in his way is going to be mowed down, okay, be bulldozed over, okay? And you don't want a person that who wants to run the government with an iron hand, because he's going to destroy democracy. Okay, and that's one of the things we have to be concerned with. His desire to destroy democracy. And we really got to be concerned about this. So people, as you look forward to 2024. Make sure your family, friends, grandma, granddad, and everybody's registered to vote, because especially in swing states like your state, Mark, North Carolina. North Carolina's not even a swing state. They're controlled by the Republican Party now.
They totally control. They got a super majority, and they're definitely trying to break up that super majority and all on those lines. But it might be a hard road. Like I've told you before, Reggie, several times. People talk about California and its diversity. North Carolina is the state that gave you, and I've said this on a couple of shows, both Terry Sanford and Jesse Helms. So we are definitely a slightly schizophrenic state. I know that people will say that Florida is schizophrenic because there are really three Floridas. There's Central Florida, there's South Florida, and there's that Northern Florida. So technically, if you want to go to the kind of the West Coast, there might even be four Floridas, but there are at least three separate Floridas. So Florida, even though it is a individual state, it might as well be three entities. And I would argue the same thing about North Carolina, because once you get past our urban areas, which are very democratic and very progressive, then you've got some deep country areas that are very pro-Trump and all along those lines. I was brought up on another show. I'd love to hear your thoughts around this. I was listening to NPR, and some people may say NPR is liberal or leftist, but they were talking about this notion of Trump and authoritarianism and whether he might be an authoritarian himself, because apparently he praised this Hungarian leader, got him confused with the Turkish leader, but he praised him and was talking about his views on migrants and his views on LGBT rights and a number of other things. So I was just wondering, because there is this theory, I'm hoping that I'm wrong, but there's a theory that if the old man go against each other and he wins a second term and does the Grover Cleveland, that he might decide to change rules. There, you talked about that he has some leaders in terms of Supreme Court and other appointments that might give him more executive power should he become the president. So is this a fear of yours? Do you fear that we might give a monarchy in the United States should Trump win and go down a authoritarian path? Because I know some people even in the feminist movement that are afraid that they would argue that we're already heading towards a Handmaid's Tale. If you know that movie, and that he wins, we're definitely heading towards the Handmaid's Tale where women don't have much say of anything. So I was just wondering your take on that.
Well, we are, like I was commenting before you came on about the same thing. We are moving to an authoritarian form of government if he becomes elected, okay? And that conversation has been going on for probably the last month or so. just based on his actions and his conversations he had. Now, I haven't seen any proof of it. I've seen articles on it, and the articles really haven't had any proof. But there is a group of people that includes Steve Bannon and Steve Smith that are putting together a dossier of individuals who will support Trump and be loyal to him. Okay, they would do his bidding. Okay, they say they have a job bank of about 50,000 resumes of individuals that they have pre-screened that have supposedly signed a pledge of loyalty to Trump, that they would do his bidding. Now,
Reggie, just really quickly before you get into that, would the counter happen as well? Because as I know you're a student of history, I'm a student of history as well, and there was a time there was a organization. A lot of people will remember J. Edgar Hoover and the whole COINTELPRO and everything. So, if he should become a leader, do you think that he might also have not just a loyalist list, but a target list? Have a list of people that he would be going after and get them any way that he can get them.
Definitely have a target list. Let me tell you his first target list on his list. D.C., as you know, is a federal town, okay? The majority of the people that work for the federal government here in D.C. are black, okay? African Americans. He has a disdain for upward mobility of blacks, okay? The first thing he's going to do, the longer, I believe he would come in and try to downsize the federal government, okay? With no thought put into it, just downsize it, okay? I mean, because when he was in office last time, he wanted to get rid of the Department of Education and I believe the Department of Energy, okay? But nothing really panned out where he could do it, okay?
RAS too.
Yeah, RAS too, because of the people he had running, they just couldn't follow his instructions that probably were very vague. So I see him attacking that first. Then secondly, he's going to go after anybody who has criticized him in the last 12 years, okay? That's just the bottom line of it, okay? He's going to order now. This is the thing he's going to do. You were saying that he might, try to get the court system, the Supreme Court on his side. He's not going to do that. He's going to do what he wants to do, okay? And he's going to dare somebody to cross him, okay? I can see him coming in and making executive orders or making decisions and telling his people, look, go arrest Joe Biden and his family, okay? Now, let's throw this in there. Now, he might only be saying all this to garner his base and keep his base happy and throwing some red meat out there. But I don't believe it. I'm not going to trust the guy, okay? And that's what people are saying when you look at the different liberal shows on MSNBC and some of the other channels. They're saying you can't trust him, okay? He might, like I said, in my opinion, he might be saying it for red meat, but I really think he would carry out some of this stuff, He's mad. I mean, he's going, the thing about it, he cannot fire judges, okay? Now, you can impeach federal judges and people of that nation, appellate court judges and stuff like that, but you can't fire them. I see him going in there and telling the FBI, you go take them guys out of the office, lock the doors, change the door, put some guards at the front door, and they better not come back in the courthouse, okay? I can see him doing stuff like that. I can see him pulling the United States out of NATO, straight up telling the people, the other countries, look, if you don't pay me this much money a year to take care of you and protect you, we out of here. Because he tried to pull that stunt when he was president last time, wanted to up the fees that NATO pays to the United States every year. That didn't work out. You have foreign leaders that are part of NATO are afraid of him winning again because they know he's going to give Russia a green light to do what they want to do in Europe. Okay. They know that already. And that's why they were so hesitant of developing a relationship with Biden when Biden won, because of the things that Trump had did when he was in office. Okay. So, man, Mark, look, this dude's unhinged. Okay.
The other thing that people have been asking about it and all along those lines is
Mm-hmm.
I actually see that there are some parallels between what Palestine wants, and I definitely do not condone whatsoever the attack that Hamas led. That was
Mm-hmm.
a horrible action and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that Palestine wanting a certain amount of freedom is a just thing and a fair thing to ask for. But I know even on
Mm-hmm.
this network, I've had people that have pushed back against me, and they don't see the parallels between what
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine wants, because Ukraine wants independence as well, and what Palestine
Mm-hmm.
wants and everything. But I just wonder your take. Do you see some parallels? And also, should we be spending millions of dollars to help any of these countries, whether it's Israel or Ukraine, and everything? And how much do you think that these countries have a right to self-determination or coming up with
Mm-hmm.
some of their own government?
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, Mark. When it comes to money being spent by the federal government in these countries, and like my wife already reminds me when I get all upset because she's in the federal government, she deals with budgetary issues. Each branch of the government, each department in the government has their own appropriations. Okay,
Right.
so they have their own money, and that money they can do for anything. I know we get upset when we riding down the street and we see people being homeless, we see people jobless, we see infrastructure falling apart here in the United States, and we wonder where the money is. And the first thing we say, why are they sending money to these countries? Okay, well, the money has been appropriated to these areas, and that's what they do with the money. They're not going to pull the money out. That's why it was such a fight. That's why Biden couldn't really do anything with the money that had been allocated to Homeland Security for the border wall, because that's where it was allocated at. So he didn't have no choice but to go back and start spending it. Okay, now, do I think these countries need all that money? And I'm gonna be honest. And if somebody's watching, they're gonna get mad at me for saying it. The answer is no. Okay, we have too many domestic issues
Mm-hmm.
here in the United States that we really need to look into. But like I said, money is appropriated to certain funds for certain, certain things that have to be done, and it's nothing we can do really to control it. So we got to do a better job. If we're going to go out and police the world and say, like the Secretary of Defense just announced that they're giving Ukraine $100 million, then we need to find $100 million to take care of some issues here in the United States. Okay.
I'm glad you brought up the Secretary of Defense, because I have some friends here on the network that don't see a reason that you would be proud to see somebody that looks like you in a certain office and everything. They sometimes push back on me when I talk about people being proud of Kamala Harris, because they now see themselves as able to do that job, but before they might not have been seeing themselves in that light. And I'm thinking that you, if I remember correctly, Reggie, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that you served in the military and everything, if I remember some past shows and everything. So I'm thinking that if you see a brother that has made it up the ranks and is now leader of basically the Defense Department, so he's running the whole thing and everything, that you might not agree with everything that he is doing for Biden, but you are probably proud of the fact that a brother has climbed up that rank, just like you're probably proud, even though you might not have agreed with all his politics, because I don't know that he ever labeled himself as a Republican, but many people think of him as being a Republican and a conservative. You probably admired and had some admiration for Mr. Powell when he was in leadership as a major general and everything. But I just want to get on that when people push back on the notion of people being proud of somebody that looks like them.
Yeah. Now, I'm proud of any Black or African American, as they might want to be called, when they make it up that ladder of success. Okay. Now, you look at that position, being Secretary of Defense. Okay, that's a powerful position. That's a position that I'm pretty sure his wife didn't want him to take. No one in his family wanted him to take, because it's a thankless position. It's a sleepless position. Okay, these guys eat, drink, and sleep defense. Okay, because they're on 24/7 call. Okay. Because you never know when something's going to break out in the world that's going to affect the United States. You got to react to it.
Right.
Along with the Joint Chief of Staff, he has to make decisions, approved decisions that benefit the United States and protects the United States. That's a heavy load, boy. I'm tell you, I wouldn't want it. Okay, I would not want it. I had my niece's friend, her best friend husband used to be, and he's a young guy, okay? used to be chief of staff for the Joint Chief of Staffs. Okay. And he would prepare for the meetings and do everything they had him to do. He was sitting in the meetings. So we were at a cookout one day. I said, man, come on, man. You got to give me some inside scoop of what goes on in the meetings.
No, they got to zip it up. Now, I will say that sometimes they will spill some stuff out once it is public knowledge, because I do have a cousin, I still have a cousin that made it up. He's in the civilian sector now, but he made it up, I think, to lieutenant colonel, because he was trying to get up to a certain rank, and whatever rank he was trying to get to, he got pushed back and never made it. But he served in that first war in the Middle East and everything, when we went against I forgot who we were trying to get Bin Laden. It was the one before Bin Laden, Gaddafi, and some of those people, that and everything. And I do remember that after the invasion and after they had gotten into those castles and everything, that he did reveal, because it was public knowledge by that time. He saw the gold bathrooms and all of that stuff.
He look, my man, he would not tell you anything he heard with the Joint Chief of Staff. He said, excuse me, still got this cough. Yeah. He said that he heard stuff and saw stuff that none of us had ever seen or heard. Okay. Right. Those are the kind of decisions. So when a person gets in that position where he can do that, when Kamala Harris got to the position, like I said, none of us agree with none of everything that anyone does. Okay. But I'm still proud of it. But when you go back and you look at the struggles that blacks have had here in America, first thing everybody said was slavery was this many years ago. I remind people that it was only in the early 60s that we got our voting rights and our civil rights. Okay? That ain't been long ago, okay? So you can't tell me that we need to just put everything to rest and forget and be happy, and whatever happens in the country, whoever gets elected, okay? We are still battling and struggling to make a difference in this country, okay?
Well, I agree with you, but Reggie, one of the things that people have told me, even on this network, Pod TV and everything, and I'd love to hear your response, because we're similar age, but you might have me by a few years and everything. What do you say when people tell you to not play the victim card and everything? And I'm going I'm not playing the victim card. So what do you answer when people try to talk to you about a quote unquote victim card?
Well, I kind of go off on them. I say it's not about being a victim. I said, first of all, I'm proud of my people for doing what they're doing. But I said, we're still struggling here in America. Okay. Now, let me tell you something. I'm going to give you a little nugget here. I bet many people don't know that Lowe's Building Supplies CEO is black.
No, I didn't even know that. You dropping the knowledge to me.
Okay. He's one of the most powerful retail executives in this country. Because Lowe's is everywhere, on every corner.
Yeah, we got a Lowe's here in Durham.
His core group of people that surround him and help him make decisions, okay, the majority of them are black, okay? He will be in that position as long as Lowe's is profitable, okay?
Right.
And they are a very profitable company. Okay, but nobody knows that, okay? Because a lot of these guys, they do what they have to do, and they do it quietly.
Yep.
Now down in North Carolina, that half of them white folks knew that up in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, you got a black CEO of that company. They love going to get that wood and nails from. Most of them will probably stop going. But they can't go run to Home Depot either, because Home Depot has a core group of blacks that help run that company, okay? So I guess they start making their own nails and cutting their own trees down and making lumber, okay? But that's why there's a need for Black history, because there are a lot of nuggets out there that a lot of people don't even know. Okay, there are people. The CEO, and I don't know if she's still with them, the CEO of Walgreens is black.
Wow.
Okay, and one reason I happen to know all this and keep it with this, because I was in retail for many years, so that's when I got, I just kept up with it, because to me, I was always proud to know that if I was with a company and the black was at the helm of it, hey, I'm all right with that.
No, definitely. I'm proud of a lot of things. That's something that some of the people push back on me, because they're like, why would you care? Because we were having this conversation earlier today, because I'm of the opinion, and I'm still of the opinion, that if a student sees somebody that looks like them, that might encourage them to want to be stronger in their education. And I know some people that push back on me saying that it shouldn't matter. And what I've told them is that yes, you can have a white teacher that can give you some good knowledge and that can help you learn as an African American student. But if you're an African American student and you see an African American teacher, and particularly if we know the problems that our black male user have, particularly if you see a black male that is teaching you, then he might be able to relate to some of the things that you are talking about in terms of your background and what you are going through that other people cannot relate to, no matter what their education is. They might know it in theory, but there's a difference between knowing things in theory and in practice. And that's what a lot of times people forget, is that there are people that can bring that personal experience. A white woman can teach a brother to some math skills or some other skills, but I do think that there are times that it can enhance their education if they see somebody that looks like them and that they can relate to.
Yeah. And, I don't think it's a conservative thing. I don't think it's a liberal thing. I think when it comes to white America, they feel like we should move on from the things of the past. Okay. When you look at when we got our voting rights in the 60s, early 60s, time has not passed by, and we need to continue to pound out our history in order to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself.
Reggie, that's why I was chuckling and everything. They tell us to ignore our past and that we need to get past everything. And I mentioned earlier what is going on in Israel, and I am not forgiving what Hitler did in the least bit. But what is the first thing that Jewish people and the Jewish community tell us is that we will never forget the Holocaust. The Holocaust was not as long as slavery, but it was definitely a long time ago. So while they cannot relate to the fact that we don't want to forget the pains of slavery, but then want to tell us that they will never forget the Holocaust or never forget Pearl Harbor, it seems to me that that's the same argument that we're making, is that we don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. So in order to not repeat the mistakes of the past, we need to know why the mistakes happened.
See, one of the things I've noticed too that's happened with history, blacks have always been kept on the lower rung of the ladder. Okay. Other ethnic cultures have come to the United States and flourished. Okay. Have flourished with the help of the United States government at times. Okay. But we haven't been allowed to flourish because, okay, all of a sudden this happened. We go from slavery to citizenship, okay? All right. Just like that, okay? They promised us 40 acres and a mule. We didn't get it, okay? But we just went from slavery to citizenship, and we supposed to be happy. And so, look, y'all citizens of the United States, why should we help you all? You got the same opportunities we had. You just got to make that opportunity, okay? And that's how we've always been viewed.
No, but not only that, Reggie, they tell us not to, that we don't flourish enough and everything. But when we are in flourishing communities, because I know you've had some guests in the past, and we've definitely, me and you have talked about it before, when you are in places like a Durham that had its Black Wall Street, or a Tulsa, or a Wilmington, or a parts of South Carolina, or down there in the parts of Florida that had Black Wall Street and everything, you ram a highway through it, you bomb it, or you do everything else to destroy it. So you tell us to survive and to flourish. But when we do flourish, y'all are threatened by it, not saying you, but those people that make those arguments, and they find ways to destroy it, either strategically through the institutions, because the highway is a federal program, so it's not accidental that a lot of these highways are run through our neighborhoods, or you do something deliberately, like go grab some bombs and literally bomb out a neighborhood and all in that space. So these things are done deliberately and all in that space, but people don't see that, or they don't want to see that.
Now, I want everybody to go get this book right here, Built from the Fire, okay? And it's by Victor Lukerson, and it's about Tulsa, okay? He spent years putting that book together. He's a young man too. He's probably about in his late 30s, probably early 40s, young brother who wrote that book. We had it going on at one time, but see, what happened was white folks got offensive because in Tulsa, they were losing business. We had our own funeral home, own hotel, own grocery stores. We had everything that we needed in our community. We weren't even bothering them, okay?
Right.
We were going by our business. But then when we stopped showing up at the movie theater and we stopped showing up at the grocery store, we stopped using the white funeral homes. Oh, they got mad. Oh, they done got uppity. But we had intelligence. Mm-hmm. They don't realize that when they pulled us out of Africa, they pulled out some very smart individuals that were doing stuff before they even started doing it, okay?
Yeah. No doubt. We were doing a lot of stuff before they did it because sometimes they were stuck in the caves and everything. But to be perfectly honest, that was another conversation I was getting to you as well. But sometimes we are also our worst enemies because I know here in Durham, I know in Tulsa, and I know in a number of other places, sometimes we had some people that were being complicit or being collaborators that were some of our own as well. So we also, and I'm not afraid to acknowledge that there were some, as people like to use the term, some bad actors even within our own community, and we don't need to run away from that. And we sometimes even need to call out those people who were in that space because we definitely had some folks that they saw the green. I understand money is an important motivator, so they saw that green and they were like, "Hey, I'm about to get paid. I don't care what the rest of the neighborhood's about to happen. I'm about to get paid, and our family's about to get paid. Y'all handle it on your own. I don't care about y'all, even though I grew and helped you grow your businesses, but I'm about to get paid." So we just have some folks that were complicit.
And we still have that. You know, when you look at the Ben Carsons of the world and New Good, how could, but you say, how could any black person go work for the other guy who used to be in the office? Okay. I'm like this. Okay. When it comes to your decision to support who you support, that's your business. Okay. As long as you're using the vote. Okay. Because too many people fought to make sure we're able to vote. But sometimes common sense has to prevail, and you can't go work for everybody just because it's a prestigious organization. You can't do that. But you look at one alumni from, I'm gonna tell you a good, perfect example is alumni of North Carolina Central University, and I'm probably a little older than him, not that much older than him, Vernon Jones, from down in Georgia. Okay. Strong Democrat. I guess one more he woke up, it was 2 jugs of Kool-Aid in there, Democrat Kool-Aid and Republican Kool-Aid. He drank the Republican Kool-Aid, and he's off on a tangent now.
Oh, yeah. He's totally off on a tangent. But, I've had some people that have tried to defend, and I'm not saying that because I have not read enough of his books, so I don't know all of his philosophies. Some of the philosophies may even be based on some things that are factual and that make some sense in everything. But I've heard some people that have tried to defend Thomas Sowell and Ben Carson and some other people in that space. And I'll admit that I need to do some more readings because I do think that some of their philosophies, including some of those conservative people, might have some merit in what they are saying. But I can also think that some of the things that they're saying just sound absurd in and of their face. Because like Mark Robinson here goes off on the LGBT community because of his devout Christian beliefs. And I can understand where if you're devoutly Christian, you may have certain moral views around those populations, but I'm not going to defend you saying that because in my mind that is some very biased kinds of opinions and everything. You have the right to those opinions if you are devoutly religious and that's your moral high ground. But I'm just going like some of the ways that he phrases it sounds very unfair to me.
Yeah, well, but Mark, he's drinking the Kool-Aid. He's drinking jugs of it because and see. What white Republicans like, they like what they think is a smart black man, okay? Right. They think they done got the cream of the crop that the Democrats on alongside because they got a Mark Robinson. Well, we really don't want Mark Robinson if he gonna act like that part of the party anymore. Right. So they look at it and they think they got something good. That's why guys like him and Tim Scott and all those guys, they're able to maneuver around with the conservatives, okay? This is my thing. I'm not going to down anybody, hate anybody, or make disparaging remarks by anybody. Okay. Now, if whatever you're doing is viewed in other eyes, in God's eyes as sin, I'm gonna let God deal with it. Okay.
Right.
But while I'm here with you here on this earth, I'm gonna treat you like a person. Okay. Regardless of what you believe in. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I agree. That's my attitude. And like I said, I'm just pulling up some of his books. And like I said, at some point maybe I'll read his book, Black Rednecks and White Liberals, and
Mm-hmm.
Economic Facts and Fallacies and Intellectual
Mm-hmm.
Societies and even Conquest and Cultures, because I'm sure that within the books, because I'm like I said, I've not read any of Saul Wells' work, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that within the books there are probably some premises that I might even agree with, but that doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
that I have to agree with all of his conservative agenda
Mm-hmm.
or his everything that he is saying. But like any argument, I can think that there are things that he may be making a point that I can be like, yeah, I can understand where you are going with
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean that I've got to agree with you and everything, but I can see where you might have that viewpoint and where that viewpoint might have
Mm-hmm.
come through and all in that space. I was just wondering, because you do more reading than I do, if you have
Mm-hmm.
ever read any of Thomas Sowell's work and if there's anything
Mm-mm.
that
Not
he
yet, but I think I will. Now, see, this is one thing that the Black community historically has been a conservative community.
mm-hmm.
And we were always, and we probably still are because of our church upbringing, okay?
Right. Agreed.
But this is my thing. Even as a student of religion and everything, and and a minister, the Bible was written over 2,000 years ago
Right.
plus, okay? And when the Bible was written, I don't think nobody can see into the future what things we'll be faced with, okay? And
Some of the things we're dealing with were not in the Bible because they were more modern inventions and along those lines. And I
yeah,
forgot you were a minister, but that's one of my conversations that I have. And I'd love to hear your thoughts around this. But to me, and I hope I'm not saying anything sacrilegious or anything along
mhm,
those lines, but to me, most of the Bible is to be taken factually and literally. I think a lot of those things that are in the Bible did take place, but I also
mhm,
think that there is some writing techniques that were used, including some figurative language as well. So I think that I do not personally think that the Bible is 100% factual, historical facts. I think that there are some things that were written that were
mhm,
intended to be seen in a figurative light. I mean, the
yeah,
Proverbs and Psalms sounds like poetry, so I definitely
yeah.
don't think that all of that is factual. I think some of that was creative tools and everything. But
Mhm.
as a minister, am I off on thinking that? And I
No,
not
it's nothing wrong with thinking that because you make a good point there because we got to understand King James was a tyrant. Okay, he probably was a little better than what Trump is. Okay, and King James had his issues and stuff. Okay, but then he was the one that translated the Bible. Okay, and he didn't use all the portions of the Bible. He picked out what he wanted to use for the Bible. Okay, and that's where we've been stuck at. So one of the things I ascribe to, like you said, you have it's a good handbook, but if you read it and you read it correctly, sometimes you can take things and say, something, it might be a different meaning. And there's nothing wrong with interpreting it the way you see it, okay? And not the way preacher sees it. I think one of the biggest problems I have with the Black church and some Black pastors now, they criticize other pastors for not preaching what they think they need to preach, okay?
not only that, but sometimes they'll literally change a sermon. I have a very liberal
Mhm.
friend and everything, and he does some things that some church members may not be fans of. I mean, one, he wrote a book about his backsliding. That was literally the title of one of his
Mhm.
books that he wrote and everything, Reverend Kenny. But he also wears some earrings and some other things. And
Mhm.
it is my understanding, I was not there when it took place, but I did hear it secondhand from him and other people that were there when it took place, that literally he went into a church of a more conservative minister, and the minister literally changed the sermon as soon as he walked in the
Mhm.
door. That to me is just crazy that you're going to
Yeah.
literally change the sermon because you see somebody that doesn't fit your narrative.
And a lot of that is happening there, where pastors are criticizing other pastors for what their views are.
Right.
And like I'm saying is, if you're a pastor, your job is to take care of your flock, okay?
Right. Take care of your own.
And it's not your job to go out here and police other pastors. If people want to sit up under that pastor and listen to him every Sunday, that's their business, okay? But you are not the one that needs to be criticizing. But man, it's a lot of, they ain't preaching this right. They preaching it wrong and everything. One of the biggest failures of modern Black pastors is the way they treated Carlton Pearson, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's some thought. You can put some thought into what he says, okay? is there really a hell? Okay. Now, the point he was making was, if you have a God who loves you, loves everybody, regardless of what their faults are, why, when you die, with that same God that loves you, put you in the hell to spend eternity?
Yeah, and not only that, but it was my understanding. Like I said, I have not done enough biblical reading. I need to read the Bible more, and I do have a copy. Actually, I might have more than one copy in my house and everything. But I know that I need to do a better job of reading that powerful document and everything. But we all know that there are a number of groups, including some Christian nationalists and some racists, that have used that same story, ham, to justify some serious racism and everything.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that as the reason. I want to say even the Mormon Church used it at one point to justify the reasons that they did not feel strongly about the African American community. Now, part of our, just be transparent, part of our leadership, that being Nick, is of Mormon descent, and even he says that those views have changed. And yeah, things can evolve over time and everything. So I've heard that not just from him, but other Mormons as well. But I do know that even he acknowledges that was problematic when they did it.
So if a person loves somebody, why are you going to do that? So how you develop your thinking theologically is on you.
Yep.
Okay, and nobody should be open to credit, but these guys get criticized. I mean, they took Carlton Pearson years ago, and probably was 10, 15, almost 20 years ago, and put him out the denomination and everything, but he stood on what he believed in and everything. New idea, new concepts and stuff, but people don't want to accept that. So, like I said, you find those conservative blacks, they be like, oh, no, you can't change the word of God. You got to preach it like it's supposed to be preached, okay? And that's how they act. It's a gentleman.
They act that way, but then they also do some other crazy things. Because I remember when I was standing at another apartment complex, not the one I'm currently in, but it was around the corner from a storefront type church and everything. And I'm sorry, I brought it up on a couple of other shows as well. I am not discounting that tongues happen and that some supernatural things can happen in the various Christian churches and everything, but I'm sorry, if the same guy runs around the same church at almost the same time on the same drum note, that sounds theatrical versus it actually being real and everything. And like I said, I am fully of the opinion that some people have the gift of tongues and that there are real conversations that take place with those gifts, but I also think that some people make dramatic presentations out of it as well.
And they do, and I agree with that on that. It's like these healing services and stuff, And I'm like, come on, people, y'all, Lord have mercy. Y'all gonna follow these guys up after they done set the script up and did everything, done practice and everything. Y'all gonna throw y'all money around like that, And it's a lot of guys out here who gotten rich off the backs of poor black people. My grandmother used to kill me when she was living, God rest her soul. She was a big Reverend Ike fan. She'd take her last $5 and send him to get a handkerchief that he called a prayer cloth.
Not to get the handkerchiefs. Some people still get those prayer rocks and everything else. And, I had a coworker recently. There's two things I was going to bring up before we wind up in about 10 minutes and everything. But two things I was going to bring up out of curiosity. I had a coworker when I first got here at Haytide today and everything. He almost got taken because there are some people that will take you. And there's a scam that is going out there right now where people are literally calling up people and asking them to make sizable donations into police funds and all along those lines. And fortunately, he was smart enough to call both the police and the sheriff department. And they told him, they were like, that's a scam that's going out there. It's the holiday season. So definitely if somebody is trying to ask you for money for those causes, we don't do that in the first place. Meaning police and police agencies don't do that. If they're asking you to send them money by a Cash App or these other things, don't fall for the okie doke. It's a scam. It's a scam that's been out there for a while and everything.
Yeah, so it's crazy here. So, before we close down, another problem that's going on out there too, getting back to the orange here, is that blacks are disenchanted with Joe Biden and are leaving the Democratic Party. That's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign at all. I've heard that, but that's the other thing I was going to ask you before getting to the Cash App thing and everything is, do we need to worry about this notion of politics of divide and conquer? Because like I said, I know that there are some issues that the migrant community might be more concerned about as the Latin community, including migration and immigration. There might be some issues that women are concerned about, that including jobs and a number of other things. So I think that one of the strategies, and they, of course, they have their strategies that the Republicans are using, is this kind of divide and conquer attitude, which is getting us to pit ourselves against each other, even though there might be common grounds that we should be unified in everything. Because I actually was a fan of not everything that Jesse Jackson did, but the Rainbow Coalition I thought was a nice notion. I think Reverend Barber is trying to bring back a version of the Rainbow Coalition and everything. But do you think that sometimes we let others derail the cause because we are so busy wanting to make sure that we are helping them in their cause?
I think so, because I think what's happening in the Black community now is just Democratic fatigue, okay? And I think the reason it's happening is because for so many years we have been loyal to the Democratic Party, and we haven't reaped any benefits out of it. You know, look how many times white men ran for president as Democrats and never even gave it a thought to have a Black person on the ticket as a vice president. Okay? But all of a sudden now they need our vote. Oh, we got Kamala Harris on the ticket. It's like they want to throw carrots out there to get you to come, okay?
That's why I'm not going to be surprised if Nikki Haley, to get some of that Asian vote, or even Tim Scott are not the vice presidential candidates for Trump. Should he?
Oh yeah, you know they're gonna jump on him. You know I've had this conversation with many people, and my thought is that, and it would really put this country in a deep six if we did it. You need a good, strong third party, okay? You just need it, okay? Because there are people both in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party that will come together to make some common sense here in America, okay?
But because what is a third party like, though? Because even here on the network, there are people that are part of this no label party, and I know that Manchin has been part of that.
Yeah, all them parties like that, those are lame parties to me. Any independent party that's out there, they lame, okay? Because they don't have a strong platform. They're not doing the work they need to do to build a strong platform, okay? Because if you're going to do it, you need eventually maybe one or two presidential cycles down the road be as strong and be as well developed as the Democratic Republican Party that makes them wake up and say, oh, look, we got some problems here. Because, I mean, other than, I don't see nothing the Democratic Party has done for me. They've done some things, okay? They got my vote, got my civil rights and stuff like that, But when it comes to concrete things, taking care of the inner cities and educational systems in these cities and stuff that are beat down, I don't see that happening. Okay, immigration. I think the biggest ball has been dropped by the Biden administration, and he had given that to Kamala. Is we have to get control of immigration in this country. We don't have a choice. But it seems like the Democrats keep kicking it down the road. Something has been done. I know we are the land that, with the Statue of Liberty sitting out in the middle of
New York Harbor.
New York Harbor, it's always been there. We are the land of opportunity. But we've got to figure out a way to make it either right, easier, or whatever you want to call it, to have people coming in this country. They can't keep coming in through the border like they're coming in. And that's an issue that has to be tackled. But, Biden, I think sometimes what gets caught up with either party is that everybody wants to bring their proposal to the table, but they don't want you to tweak it, okay? And so Biden hasn't brought his proposal to the table so they can work on it and tweak it. You might not get everything you want, but if you can get something that's going to make a difference, then you take it.
Right.
But we're beyond those days, those days.
No, but that's that notion of cooperative politics, and we've not been seeing enough of that, because I can definitely think of a time when there were people that were Republicans and Democrats, even different fringe parties and everything, and they would definitely disagree, but still, like you said, cooperate. But right now, it's extremists on a lot of the sides of the politics that have hijacked the argument, and I would argue is being hijacked on both the Republican and the Democratic side by some of those that are ultimately extremists and everything. So I think that I wish that there was a time that it was similar where people of different viewpoints could, like you just said, sit down, agree to disagree on certain things, but find that common ground.
Yeah. Even though, and hopefully this guy would not get reelected, but even when we get another Democrat, if Biden is able to get reelected, the same problems we have now, these problems are here to stay, because the Republican parties are always going to see things the way they want, and Democratic parties are going to always see things the way they want. That's why I say a good, common sense third party would make changes in this country and get things on the right track again.
Yep, we're going to start the Reginald Party. So the Reginald Party will be starting.
Hey, whatever they need to call it to get it right, because like I said, right now it stinks, and it's like, we are the lapdogs for the Democratic Party. We just follow them along. We just go in there and pull that leverage, Democrat,
Yeah,
well, that's what we do, and that's what they depend on us,
Well, like I said on this show and other shows as well, that's frustration I have is that a lot of people vote according to what the special interests tell them to vote, and then you ask them why they voted for that person. It's because this PAC or that special interest told me to vote, because they get those nice little sheets that tell you which way to vote and everything. And I wish that more people were analyzing the vote and determining the reasons that they're voting. And that's on every level, both on the federal level, but all the way down to your local school board and some of your other local offices, because some of those offices are incredibly important, but we act like they're not important. Well, this has been a fun conversation. Everything.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I enjoyed talking to you, Mark. So I'm back on board. But let me see. Yeah, we'll be back on next week, the 28th, and everything. We're gonna do a couple more shows after 28th and wind down for the holiday and get ready for 2024.
Sounds good, and your numbers are doing good. Just to let you know, because I do get the Vimeo numbers, and I saw that one of the shows, I can't remember which one, was like in the top 10 or the top 15. So I do get to look at those.
But how many people? How many people were that? 2?
No, it was more than 2, because actually the show I was on earlier, which was an extended show, there was a gentleman that jumped on from Norway and somebody else that jumped on from someplace else. So we're actually getting viewers from even other parts of the world. I saw on some of your shows there were some people from like Brazil and Canada and other places that are watching. So I know that they're up to the whole shows. All of them are running at around 2.3 or 2.5 million, but that means some of these shows are getting thousands, if not tens of thousands, because I do know that Nick and others re-air it even after we're done. So like this show will probably re-air a couple of times even through Thanksgiving. So yeah, there's more than 2 people watching. Well,
I appreciate everybody who's out there watching us. We're trying to be informative, and if you're over on the show, listening to the show, just drop a message in the message box so we know that you're there and everything, So until next week, we'll find another topic to talk about next week. We'll find something to talk about. But until next week, I want everybody, if you're celebrating Thanksgiving on Thursday, enjoy yourself. Don't get too full, but really enjoy yourself, enjoy your family and everything. And I will see everybody next Tuesday night on Urban Sentinel Live.
Sounds good.
Take care now.